Good morning, Flow Catamates, and welcome to Weekly Flow. This week, we're going to be talking about business planning, and it's going to feel, I think, a little bit dry today, but I hope as you get through the process, you are going to really start stretching yourself and seeing where you can really take your business. So what we're going to talk about today is part one, and today we're going to be doing our planning. We're going to look back at last year, and we're going to see how you performed. If you have done business plans in the past, you have something to look at. What did you plan to do last year? And how did you meet your goals? If this is the first time that you're doing business planning, this will be your benchmark. This will be your first year working with this type of a business plan. And as years keep going on, you'll be able to look back at what you plan to do and how you met your goals and where you are. So the first thing I'm going to just mention is last week we talked about goals and goal planning, and it's really important to know exactly what you want to do both personally and professionally when you are putting your goals together for the coming year. So we talked about goals and we talked about putting together 3 to 5 goals last time. So pull those out. Take a look at those goals as we move forward with our business planning. Now, the first part of what we want to do is called the annual review. And as we go through this, I'm showing you captures of what the business planning documents look like. And I emailed those to you. For those of you that are joining us online, you can go to the library on our workplace and you'll see all of the documents loaded up in that location. So annual review is really, really important because what we're going to do is we're going to take a look back over the past year. We're going to see what you did, how you performed. And if this is the first time you've done this, you will have this information, but you won't have all of it. So all you need to do is fill in the blanks that you can. So this is the first part. Again, today's going to be a lot of graphs. I'm not expecting you to go through all this right now, but this is as you are filling out this information to prepare for putting your business plan together. These are some numbers that you'll just need to find, and it's really going to help you plan for next year. This is basically what we want to look at. This is the numbers page. So we want to look at what you did last year in terms of sales volume, what your GCI was, how much money did you spend on your business. Now, if this is something that you're not doing currently, it's something to really be thinking about moving forward, because putting all of these things into place allows you to see how much money you really made. Then we'll look at net earnings, pre-tax, how many closed transactions you had, and you can see the rest of the list here, which we'll talk about each of these a little bit later. But it's important to keep track of these numbers as you go through this coming year, because it will help you plan for the next year. So here's another really important thing to look at, and what is going to happen here when you see where your business is coming from, and as we're planning for next year, you can focus on those areas where you're easily getting business. So how many of your past clients did you have another transaction with? How many came from sphere of influence? How many from friends and family? And you can see the list here. What I have found in my own business planning is that a lot of my business comes from past clients and from referrals. And so those are the areas that I kind of focus on when it comes to planning my budget for the coming year. So now I want to get into the areas that I'd like you to focus on as you're thinking about your business planning. And I just want to say, you're really going to be thinking about, what do I want next year to look like? It's that dream state. It's that waving a magic wand and saying, this is what I want it to look like. So this is like we were talking goal planning last week. This is really planning. Here's what I want my year to look like. So I'm going to go through these items somewhat quickly. I just want to explain what they are. And in the packet that you get, all of these are listed, and you'll have places to write down your thoughts about what you want this to be. You've heard Rick say this in the past, and I want to say it again here. It would be very easy to use this as a Word document and to just type in the answers. But as you write it down, and you will have spaces to write this down on the forms, it really takes it from your pen to your brain, and it makes it more of a reality. I see Rick shaking his head. You know what I'm saying. It really does make a difference. You don't have to do everything on the computer. Using a pen or pencil can be really powerful. Oh, I forgot to say this one. So first thing we want to do is identify the types of clients that you want to serve. For me, it's always been, I want to work with referrals from other clients, because what I have found is that if I really enjoyed working with somebody and they refer a client to me, I know that I'm going to enjoy them too, because they're the same sort of person. And there's almost an inherent trust with those clients as well, because their friend referred them to me. So there's already a little built-in trust, and that can make a big difference. If you're just starting out in business, this is something that you'll build over time, and it will happen pretty quickly. When you close a deal and your client was happy with it, they're going to really want to send their friends and family to you. So that's one of those things to keep in mind, especially if you're a new agent. What kind of services do I want to offer to my clients? So this is, I think we're all in the same mindset that we want to give them full service. And so it really is developing what is that sort of concierge service that I'm going to give to them, and really thinking about what that looks like. What I like to do is think, I've purchased and sold properties, and so I know what it's like to be a client. And so I try to always look at myself in that position and think, what is it that I could do that would make my service a little bit more engaging, a little bit more exciting, a little bit more usable. So think about the services that you want to offer to your clients next year. Then we need to talk about the methods what you'll provide or give this service to your clients. This is something that's really important at the beginning conversation with your clients, in talking about things like, how do you like to be communicated? How do you like to communicate? Do you prefer text? Do you like phone calls? Do you prefer emails? And really understanding their best way of communicating. You want to kind of mimic that, and that's what you want to follow, because that's going to help them communicate with you as well. Now, sometimes you'll say to them, sometimes I'm going to need a quick answer and I'm going to text you or whatever, but I'm going to work as best I can to work with your primary choice of communication. And usually everybody's fine with that. So here's, I'm sure that most of you, if you've been in business for a while, you've heard of this one. What makes you different from everybody else? What's your, what makes you different? What makes you unusual? It's really interesting, and I think that most of you have seen those comments from agents. I'm client-centric. I am this. I am that. And so many people say that all the time, that it's important that you realize exactly what you are going to be that's going to be different than that, because you really want to make yourself unique in what you do and how you present yourself and your services. So here's something, this is another part of that planning. And a lot of this, like I said, is going to be writing down ideas and thoughts. So philosophically, what describes you as an agent? And an interesting way to kind of bring that together is look at the foundations of your service and what you believe. And we talk a lot about that at Flowcademy. It's that idea of how you are in the world and how you present yourself. And that's really what's going to make the difference with how you respond to your clients and your clients back to you. So it's important to understand that where your belief system is, your mindset, and how you are going to approach your clients. So here's another good one. Rick and I talk about this all the time. What special skills do you possess that help you serve your clients better? And why I bring Rick up is we talk about how we have a lot of the same beliefs and ideas, but we have different skill sets. So this is really important if you're working on a team. Identify what you are really good at, and identify what your team is really good at, and use that as a whole and as a collective. Be happy that you're not as good as something at something as somebody else, because they are. And when you work together collectively as a whole, that's what's going to make that much better. So if there are certain things, if you are working as an individual and there are certain things that you don't feel that you're really that good at, then and is necessary to do your job well, then that's something that we're going to put in our business plan that we're going to focus on next year, to get education, to get the training, to get whatever it is that you need to get that strength. In just a little while, I'm going to be taking you through a whole list of things. You're going to be overwhelmed by it. But when you see it on paper, you're going to see that it's not that difficult. And it's a system in which we're going to grade where we are in different things that are important to be an agent. So this one is kind of talking about that same thing, unique aspects from prior experience that are going to help you succeed. A lot of us have come into real estate from something else. I came into it from the airline industry, and I was doing duty free. And so for me, it was kind of client service. It was working with my airlines. It was managing them. It was communication. And it was all these things in international business that I was doing that I was able to transfer and translate into real estate. So it's important to look at where your strengths lie from other things. And it can be just things that you do in your personal life too. Identify what you do really well and then capitalize on those things as you're planning what's going to make you succeed as an agent, and include those in your business plan. So here's what I was talking about earlier, is the education and training that you will use in your plan for success. And this can be education you've already had. Maybe you have a bunch of letters after your name of classes that you've gone through to become, XYZ, PDQ, all of those things that we have in real estate. And how are you going to use those trainings to make your business better? But maybe you've taken some other trainings or things that you really enjoy doing. Maybe marketing is something occupation that you came from and you're really good at it and you really love doing it. So capitalize on that. Put your spin on your own marketing. There are some things that are better to give to somebody else to do because they do it and they do it better. But if it's something that you do well and really sets you apart, really take advantage of those things. So this is a tough one. And this is, I think, a piece that a lot of people forget. How much money is it going to cost you to do this? Now, I have here personal budget, but let's look at it more as business budget. As we're working through our plan, we're going to say, I want to do these types of communications. I want to do this type of advertising. I want to do all of these things. And in order to make the money that we want to make, we need to monetize those things and know exactly how much it's going to cost to produce those deliverables. So budget's going to be really important here. There are so many people that I've met that went into real estate their first year and they're like, oh, I'm making all this money. And they forgot to budget for taxes. And then all of a sudden at the end of their first year, they're hit with this tax bill and they can't believe it. So that's a part of budgeting. So you know exactly how much money you're going to be spending. So what else? I tried to do kind of an extensive list of things that you need to think about, but you're an individual and you do things differently than any of us. So what else do you need to think about to make your business what you want it to be for this coming year? Okay, now we get into some of the topics, things that we need to look at to figure out what our business is going to look like. I talked about this earlier. I talked about business coming from past clients and referrals. Take a look at your business from this last year, and you're going to have that from that first sheet that we looked at. What were your top 3 sources of business this year? If that felt good, getting business that way, then that's something that we really want to focus on for next year. So how about your sphere of influence? These are just a couple of questions to look at. I know we have a lot of words in this presentation, but I think it's important to have these words to understand what we need to be looking at for planning for this year. So and I think this is 2 different things. How many people are in your sphere of influence? And how many people are on your client list? Sphere of influence is something that I think we all hear all the time, your SOI. And those are people that you have contact with, or you might reach out to, or might reach out to you, somebody that you as an influencer in your life, or you are an influencer in their life. And those are important people to have around you. But that list may be completely different, and the number of those people as those people that are actually on your client list. If you're just starting out in real estate, your SOI is hopefully going to be the people that come to be on your client list. And as you get further and further into your business, that number is going to be growing. If you've been in business for a long time, these might be exactly the same list because you might have worked with most of the people that are in your SOI. So how many times did you talk with them? I think, how many times did I with them? Talk with them? How many times did you speak with them? How many times did you call them? It's really important to know and to kind of to gauge and make a realization that you need to talk to your sphere of influence or your client list at least once a month if you're not in contract with them. How many times did you mail them? This could be a blind mailer. It could be a letter to them. It could be whatever. But looking at those 2 different ways of communication with people is important. Some people relate to things better audibly and to hear you, and they feel it's more personal. And some people like to see things. They like to see like charts and facts and figures about what's going on in the market. So it's really important to do a combination of what's called art and words. facts. So go between those two because people respond to things in a different way. Okay, so now we're going to get into, these are all categories for our business plan. And again, this will make more sense as we look at the packet. If you have it in front of you, you're already seeing these things. But what do I want to do next year for business development? This is a piece that I think a lot of agents forget. It's really important to especially if you're in the middle of transactions, you've got to keep your business moving, because as soon as you are finished closing those deals, it's all of a sudden like, what have I done? Where's my business going to come from? So this piece, business development, is extremely important to think about now before we get in the thick of it next year. So how do you want to get your new business? Do you want to work your sphere of influence? Do you want to work your client list? Do you want to send out mailers and do cold calling? How's that going to look for you to get new business next year? And then how many new client or prospects do you need to get to the point that you want to get to? So you are going to find on Workplace in the information, or in the library, it's called a transaction calculator. And you can click on that link and it's going to pull up a calculator. It's a worksheet, an Excel spreadsheet. And you put in how many people you have in your sphere of influence, what your GCI rate is, where you want to be, what your commission split is, I should say. And it's going to calculate how many people you need to talk to every day to get to the business that you want. So take a look at that calculator. There are so many different versions of it. This one is one that I've been using for a bunch of years, and you just put in some numbers that you know, and it's going to let you know how many people you need to reach out to. Then you want to think about what sort of marketing activities you want to participate in. Do you want to do campaigns? Do you want to do mailers? Do you want to do calls? How do you want that to work? And again, that's looking at what has worked for you in the past. And here's a really good opportunity for newer agents to get into one of our office hours and talk about how you want to communicate with your client base. And another great thing to do is just be in the office. Now that we can be back in offices, if you're a new agent, talk to some agents that have been around for a while and see what's working for them. They may not be doing exactly what's going to work for you, but it might spin an idea for you of something that will work for you. And then how am I going to develop more inbound referrals? So that's a matter of really staying in touch with the agents that you have worked with on past deals, especially if somebody referred somebody to you from out of town. Keep in touch with those people, because that's how you are going to get your business coming in. And then the last one is, how am I going to develop more outbound business? So that's really staying in touch with your sphere of influence and saying, hey, I'm moving to Austin, Texas, and saying, you know what, I've got a great agent in Austin that I'd love to introduce you to. They'll be able to help you. I understand you're going to rent for the first year or so, but you could get in contact with them now and start understanding what the market's like, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really planning out what that's going to look like for you next year. Okay, so this is the piece that I told you about. And this in your packet is a sheet of paper that has a whole bunch of things listed on it. I'm going to go through that list. You're going to just see them on the screen. I'm not going to go through each of them, but I just want you to get an idea of what this list looks like. So this is going to be a self-evaluation. And I want you to be really, really honest with yourself here. This is really good to do if you're on a team, because you want each teammate to go through this self-evaluation on their own separately, and then come back together as the team and compare. And you can see where people's strengths lie against where your strengths lie. And then if it's something that somebody's really good at graphics and you're not, you can say, hey, I'm going to have you take care of this piece. I'll take care of the number piece because that's where I'm strong. And that's just going to develop a better team. So I want you to be really honest when you go through these things. And there's a little space for you to grade yourself in A, B, C, D, and yes, F. And I've been doing this for years with people. And if you give yourself an F, you either realize, I'm never going to be good at this. I don't want to be good at this. I'm going to give it to somebody else to handle, not me. Or you might say, I really want to be good at this. So I'm going to take some classes so that I can bring myself up to a C or a B. So these are things that are going to help you understand exactly where your strengths lie. Like I said, long list. But these are the types of things that are going to be on the sheet. How good are you at listing presentations? How well do you differentiate yourself from other agents? How well do you do it at open houses? So that's something to kind of redevelop, since we haven't been doing open houses for quite some time. And then it goes through all of these different things. Time management, how well organized are you? How well are you planning for your retirement? So you'll see these things, again, in a grid on a sheet. It's not as overwhelming as it looks here. And as you go through each of these things, just be really thoughtful and honest with yourself so that you can really look at what you want to focus on next year. Okay, now we start working on, what do I want my overall targets to look like next year? So again, another graph, another sheet, but next year, I want my overall target to look like this. I want my GCI to be this. I want my business expense, which I said is really important to know what that number is going to be this. It's going to cost me this much to put together my new buyer guides, my listing presentations, my advertising, maybe some office equipment that you need to purchase, salaries for if you have an assistant. All of those things are really important to know so that you know what your bottom line is going to be at the end of the day. Then you want to figure out, and again, this one is easier if you've been in business for a while. How many closed transactions do you want to have? And what's that average sale price going to be? Then you just think about, how many buyer presentations do I need to go through in order to hit my goal? And how many listing presentations do I need to get to my goal? So average commission, this is going to be different in every different market, every different area. For me, I always work to a 3% commission, and the standard is 2.5, and it is just kind of working your value to prove to your client that you are worth that extra amount. Then we want to start looking at the parameters for next year. And now these are all going to look familiar because we just looked at those from reviewing last year. So as you're looking at this side by side on the business documents, it's going to make a lot more sense, but it's something to keep in mind. So next year, I want my price range to be this. And hopefully what you're going to try to do is bump it up from this year a little bit, because either your clients that you've had in the past are now upgrading. Maybe some are downsizing, and that's fine. But it's kind of seeing where your clients are and where you think they're going to be going next year. What locations do you want to work in? Do you want to focus on, and again, it depends on every single market. In my location right now, it's, do I want to focus on a higher end area, or do I want to kind of do a mid-range where I would have to do more business in order to make that same amount of money? And then again, clientele, we talked about this. For me, I want to work with referrals. I want to work with people that I've worked with in the past. So that's really where I focus my marketing, is to those people. We talked about this. How much do you want to refer out, and how much do you want business do you hope to refer in? When we talk about our marketing, and this is really important. So the things that I want you to think about, and again, a lot of this is just to get it top of mind as you're putting your planning, kind of dreaming about what you want things to look like. So here's why your prospective client is going to choose to work with you. I like to communicate with my clients, I this, I that, and put those things down. Again, this is differentiation, but it's really talking about why your client wants to work with you and chooses to work with you. Then why, and this is what I just mentioned, why are you worth the commission that you're being paid? And it's so easy to move from that 2.5% to 3% for me, because I explain exactly what I am going to do for them as an agent. And this is why I'm worth it. Then the other thing is, and we've talked about this over and over again, but I hope that you're seeing why this is so important. What is it that's going to differentiate you from other agents? And what you're really doing is creating your brand. And brand is important, because when you create your brand, you want to stick to what that is, and you want other people to recognize it as well. So part of this is going to be coming up with 5 to 8 strong, convincing, empathetic reasons and specific points of what your brand is and what you are going to be as an agent. Now, the last little bit at the bottom I talked about earlier, use some language and ideas that separate you from others. Don't do whatever, I'm full service, I'm these things that you hear from every single agent. Make this be different and something that's specific to you or you and your team. So here are some action items that I want to implement next year. What activities and daily actions would increase your productivity and success? One of the things that I think is a perfect fit here is the daily navigator. And it's something that we talk about the things that you have to do every single day. And when you put the things from the navigator into place, what you're doing is you're creating a platform. You're creating the things that you always do. You're creating intention, and you're creating something that's going to allow you to be even more successful. Then I want you to think about, and we've talked about this a couple of times, what are the things, the skills that you maybe need to acquire or to polish up a little bit or get a little bit better at in order to increase your performance and your effectiveness. We talked about new business development. What types of things can you do for next year that is going to increase your business, your clients? Is it going to be marketing? Is it going to be more marketing on the internet or website? How are you going to increase your sphere of influence? And a whole list of things here that you'll see on your materials that are things that you can do to increase your business numbers for next year. Client retention. This one is so important. It's really easy to finish with a client and think, okay, that's done. But the most important thing that you can do is to stay in touch with those clients. I got to tell you, I love to get into my phone and just kind of a dialing for dialers thing, but I do it a little bit more methodically than that. But I'll reach to somebody that I haven't talked to, and this could be anybody. It doesn't necessarily have to be a client that I haven't talked to for 3 or 4 years. And I'll get on the phone and I'll say, hi, this is Kevin. I know this is coming out of the blue. I know that we haven't talked for a really long time, but you've been on my mind, and I just wanted to give you a call and let you know that I'm thinking about you. 90% of the time, the person says to me, oh, I was just thinking about you too. And there's this energy thing that really seriously happens. And 99% of the time, I get into a really good conversation with that person, and the relationship comes completely back to where it was. So the other thing I do is, if I don't get them on the phone, I'll say, hey, no reason to call me back. I just want to let you know that I was thinking about you. So what I've just done is I said, I'm not keeping you on the hook to call me back. You don't have to call me back. I just want to let you know that I'm thinking about you. And again, 80% of the time I'll get a call back and I'll hear, hey, it's so good to hear from you. So for those of us, and I'm one of these people that is afraid of the phone. I hate talking on the phone. I avoid it at all costs. I'll say, okay, today I'm going to call these 5 people, and it becomes something that just becomes easier and becomes more enjoyable. So that's part of client retention as well. Then think about presentations, materials, marketing, and media. What things can you do to create some collateral that's going to be helping your business move along next year? And this is maybe something like updating your listing presentation, or maybe taking a really good look at your buyer presentation from a buyer's point of view, and maybe just, zhuzhing it up a little bit to make it a little bit better. And then I have a bunch of other ideas as well. And again, these are all on the written information that you'll be looking at. This is a simple one: technology and education. Do you need to maybe increase computer skills? I think that we realize now that everything is online. So having a good understanding of your smartphone, of your tools, of your computer is really important. And maybe taking a class or two on Excel or wherever you could maybe improve a little bit to make your job a little bit better. Maybe you want to get your broker's license, or maybe you want to get one of those XYZ things after your name for real estate education. All of those things. Think about things that are going to make you a better agent. And finally, and this is, I think, one of the most important things, and this is why Rick and I developed the idea of Flowcademy, is taking your personal objectives and the things that you want to do with your business, but allow them to work together. So your personal objectives are so important. What do you want your quality of life to be? Do you want to be a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 kind of person with weekends off so that you have more time with your family? If that's the case, we know as real estate agents that the weekends is when clients are free and want to see property, or the evenings. So maybe I need to be thinking about getting a showing agent or somebody that's going to be able to help me with those, because that's going to allow me more time with my family. So it's really thinking about these personal objectives that are going to help you plan what next year is going to look like. And then take a look at what are the main obstacles and time wasters in your day. This has, again, to do with the daily navigator. There are certain things that we really need to do, but there are certain things that we get involved with that just waste our time. So it's really important to know what it is that you can be doing and things that you can be giving to somebody else to take care of so that you can focus on your personal objectives. We talked a while ago, again, about the idea of what your why is and why that is so important. Why are you in real estate to begin with? Why are you doing this? For some people, it may be because they want to get enough money that they can put their kids through college. For some, it may be that they really want to get a Tesla. For some, it could be all these different types of things, but knowing what your why is going to help you get to the next level. So that's going to help you define your personal objectives and figure out how your business is going to allow you to do that, not hold you back from doing it. The other thing is, how can Flow Academy help you achieve your goals? We're hoping that we're going to totally help you achieve your goals because of the processes that we're going to help you work through. So think about that too, and write these things down and come to office hours and talk to us about how you guys could really help me out if you help me a little bit more with time management or whatever these things are. We can talk about it and help you achieve those goals. So it's really important to dream what you want and then plan how you're going to get there. And then all of a sudden you've got your dream. So think about those, and that I've used the word dream a lot today, and you really need to think outside of the box for your business next year to really get where you want to be. So homework for next week. So you have the sheets. If you don't have the sheets, download them from Workplace under the Knowledge Library and just complete them. And I would really suggest that you take 45 minutes to an hour, maybe longer, and say, I'm going to close myself into a room, or I'm going to go to a park where it's nice outside, or I'm going to go to a location where I can focus and concentrate and not be interrupted, and just let your mind kind of flow with things that are exciting to you in the way that you can build your business, and go through that process to fill out this form. I'd love for you to have these done next week. If you would like to share them with us, email them over to us. We'd love to take a look. And then what we're going to do next week, and it's going to be much less work than this was, because this is all the hard work is getting to this point, is we'll talk next week about how we put that into our business plan. We're going to take our business plan and break it into quarters, and then off we go next year to make our dreams come true.